Commander Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stood on the command deck of Earth's most powerful warship. The UES Thunderbolt floated silently in the darkness of space, its massive hull gleaming under the distant stars. For the third time in an hour, the strange alien message echoed through the ship's speakers. The sounds were unlike anything humans had ever heard before. Strange clicks and whistles mixed with mathematical patterns that somehow felt urgent and desperate. Jake had been a soldier for 20 years, and he knew the sound of fear when he heard it, even from aliens. Lieutenant Lisa Cooper looked up from her computer screen, her face pale with worry. She had been working for 6 straight hours to decode the mysterious transmission that had appeared on Earth's deep space sensors 3 days ago. "Commander, I've finally figured out what they're saying," Lisa said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's definitely a distress call. These creatures call themselves the Zilani Confederation, and they're being completely destroyed by something called the Krex Empire." Jake walked over to the main display screen where colorful star maps floated in the air like glowing jewels. The aliens had been smart enough to include detailed directions to their home worlds, along with tactical information about their enemies. It was clear they were throwing this message into space hoping anyone, anywhere, might help them. "How bad is it?" Jake asked, though he already suspected the answer. Lisa's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard, bringing up more decoded information. "Sir, it's genocide. Pure and simple. The Krex Empire has already destroyed 12 Zilani worlds in the past 2 years. They're not taking prisoners or trying to rule these people. They're just wiping them out completely." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's engines. Jake stared at the star charts, calculating distances in his head. The Zilani home worlds were 300 light-years away from Earth. That was farther than any human had ever traveled, but it was possible with their newest ships. "What do we know about these Krex?" Jake asked. "Not much yet," Lisa replied, pulling up more data. "But from what the Zilani are telling us, they're a military empire that conquers worlds for resources. They seem to believe that only the strong deserve to survive. The Zilani, on the other hand, appear to be peaceful traders who've never fought a real war." Jake studied the tactical displays that the Zilani had included with their message. Their ships were designed for cargo hauling and peaceful exploration, not fighting. They had some basic defensive weapons, but nothing that could stand against a true military force. It was like watching sheep try to fight wolves. "Sir," said Sergeant Mike Johnson from the communications station, "there's something else you need to see. The Zilani didn't just send this message to us. They've been broadcasting it in all directions for months, hoping someone would answer." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "And we're the only ones who responded, sir. In a galaxy full of civilizations, Earth is the only planet that heard their cry for help and actually cared enough to do something about it." The weight of that realization settled over the bridge crew. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying while the rest of the galaxy looked the other way. But not humanity. Never humanity. Jake thought about his daughter back on Earth, safe in her school classroom, learning about math and science and dreaming about the stars. He thought about all the children on Earth who believed that good people helped others when they were in trouble. How could he explain to them that humans had found aliens who needed help, but had chosen to do nothing? "Lieutenant Cooper," Jake said firmly, "send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them we have confirmed first contact with an alien species, and they're in immediate danger. Request permission to investigate and render assistance." Lisa's eyes widened. "Sir, that's going to mean—" "I know exactly what that means," Jake interrupted. "It means humanity is about to have its first interstellar war. But sometimes doing the right thing isn't easy or safe. These Zilani people reached out to the universe for help, and they found us. That makes them our responsibility now." As the message raced back toward Earth at light speed, Jake continued staring at the alien star charts. The Krex Empire had no idea what was coming their way. They thought they were dealing with helpless prey, but they had just made a terrible mistake. They had threatened people under human protection. And everyone in the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you made that kind of mistake. Admiral David Hayes couldn't sit still. For the past 3 hours, he had been walking back and forth across the underground command center buried deep beneath Luna Base. The room was massive, with glowing screens covering every wall showing the position of Earth's military forces across the solar system. Dozens of officers worked quietly at their stations, but everyone could feel the tension in the air. President Rebecca Martinez sat at the long metal table in the center of the room, her hands folded as she listened to the final briefing about the alien distress call. Her face showed no emotion, but Hayes had worked with her long enough to know she was making one of the hardest decisions in human history. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," the president said slowly. "An alien civilization 300 light-years away sent us a cry for help. They're being completely wiped out by another alien empire, and we're the only species in the galaxy who bothered to respond to their message." "That's correct, ma'am," replied General Patricia Stone from across the table. She had flown in from Mars Command as soon as the alien transmission was decoded. "Our best linguists have been working around the clock to understand their language. The Zalani Confederation is made up of peaceful trading worlds. They've never fought a real war because they've never needed to. But now they're facing the Krex Empire, which appears to be a military civilization that destroys entire planets for resources." President Martinez turned to look at the tactical displays showing Earth's fleet positions. "How long would it take to reach Solani space?" Admiral Hayes stopped pacing and faced the president directly. 6 months with our fastest ships, ma'am. But we need to understand what we're talking about here. This wouldn't just be humanity's first contact with alien life. This would be our first interstellar war. Once we send ships beyond our solar system to fight, we're announcing to the entire galaxy that Earth is a military power. There's no going back from that decision. The room fell completely silent. Everyone understood the weight of what they were discussing. For centuries, humans had dreamed about meeting aliens and joining some kind of galactic community. But nobody had imagined that first contact would involve rescuing one species from genocide by another. "What about our forces?" the president asked. "Are we ready for something like this?" General Stone activated a holographic display showing Earth's military strength. "The Third Fleet is our most advanced battle group. 57 ships including 12 heavy battleships, 20 cruisers, and 25 destroyers. All equipped with our newest weapons systems and AI-assisted targeting. On paper, it's the most powerful military force humanity has ever assembled." "On paper," Admiral Hayes added grimly. "But ma'am, we have no idea what alien military technology looks like. For all we know, our best weapons might be useless against their ships. We could be sending our people to die for nothing." President Martinez stood up and walked to the main display screen. The decoded Zalani message was still playing on repeat, those desperate alien voices calling out to anyone who would listen. She thought about her own children back on Earth, and how she would feel if they were in danger and nobody came to help them. "David," she said without turning around, "what's the worst-case scenario if we do nothing?" Admiral Hayes considered the question carefully. "The Zalani Confederation gets completely destroyed. We lose our first chance to make peaceful contact with an alien civilization. And every other species in the galaxy learns that humans will ignore genocide if it's not our problem. And if we intervene, we might start a war with the Krex Empire. We might make enemies across the galaxy. We might lose our entire Third Fleet. But we also might save millions of innocent lives and show the universe that humanity stands for something." The president turned back to face the room full of military officers. These were the men and women who would have to carry out whatever decision she made. Some of them had families on Earth who might never see them again if this went wrong. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said firmly, 3 days ago, an alien species reached across 300 light-years of empty space to ask for help. They didn't know anything about us except that we were intelligent enough to receive their message. They chose to trust us with their survival." She walked back to her chair but remained standing. That trust means something. It means that somewhere in this big, dark galaxy, there are people who believe that good still exists. That someone will come to help when evil threatens to destroy everything they love. President Martinez looked directly at Admiral Hayes. David, how long has humanity been dreaming of reaching the stars? Centuries, ma'am. And now we have our chance. Not to conquer or explore, but to do what we've always done best. To help people who can't help themselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. Authorize Operation Shepherd's Crook. Send the Third Fleet to Zalani space. And make sure they know that they carry with them Earth's promise that no cry for help will ever go unanswered. Within 6 hours, 57 human warships were racing toward the edge of the solar system, their engines burning bright against the darkness. They carried 30,000 crew members and humanity's hopes for a better galaxy. The age of Earth's isolation was over. War Master Thokran leaned back in his command throne aboard the massive Krex battleship Death's Edge, his 4 arms crossed as he watched the intercepted alien transmissions play across the holographic displays. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for amusement among his species. The approaching fleet from this unknown world called Earth looked absolutely pathetic. Look at these primitive creatures, Thokran hissed to his second-in-command, pointing a clawed finger at the tactical readouts. Their ships use basic fusion drives that our ancestors abandoned centuries ago. And what are these weapons? Metal projectiles? Do they plan to throw rocks at us? Sub-Commander Vrak examined the data more closely, his scaled head tilting in confusion. War Master, our sensors show they have 57 ships. That's larger than we expected for such a backward species. Thokran's laugh was like grinding metal. Numbers mean nothing when the technology is this inferior. 1,000 primitive ships cannot defeat one advanced warship. These humans will be destroyed so quickly that it will barely qualify as target practice for our gunners. The Krex had been the dominant military force in this region of the galaxy for over 300 years. They had conquered 47 different worlds, each time proving that superior technology and ruthless tactics could overcome any resistance. Their plasma cannons could melt through the strongest shields, and their energy torpedoes could crack planets in half. Shall we prepare an ambush, War Master? Vrak asked, already anticipating the easy victory. No, Thokran replied, his yellow eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. Let them come to us openly. I want every species in this sector to see what happens when primitives dare to challenge the Krex Empire. When we destroy this human fleet in full view of Zalani Prime, it will serve as a perfect example to any other fools who might consider resisting us. He activated the ship's communication system, sending a message to his entire battle group. All ships, prepare for entertainment. We are about to demonstrate Krex superiority to some new prey species. Make sure to record everything. This footage will be useful for intimidating future conquests. 300 light-years away, the human fleet continued its journey through the void of space, completely unaware that their enemies were already planning their destruction. Meanwhile, on the surface of Zalani Prime, Elder Vexhai stood on the observation deck of the planet's last functioning orbital communication center. The elderly alien's blue-green skin was pale with exhaustion, and his large eyes reflected the orange glow of fires burning in the distance. The Krex bombardment had been going on for weeks, and his people were running out of places to hide. But today, something had changed. For the first time in months, Vexhai felt a spark of hope growing in his chest. The strange transmissions from the human fleet were unlike anything he had ever heard from a military force. Commander Wells to Zalani Prime, came the voice through the communication array, translated into Zalani language by their computers. We are establishing civilian evacuation zones in sectors 7 through 12. All non-combatants should move to these areas immediately. We will protect them during the engagement. Vexhai's aide, a younger Zalani named Kira, shook her head in bewilderment. Elder, I don't understand. Why would warriors concern themselves with protecting civilians? Every military species we've encountered focuses only on destroying their enemies. Listen to this, Vexhai said, playing another intercepted human transmission. All ships, be advised that we have confirmed civilian populations on the planet's surface. Weapons are cleared for space targets only. Any ship that fires on planetary installations without direct authorization will face court-martial. Our mission is to protect innocent life, not destroy it. Kira's eyes widened in amazement. They're actually worried about accidentally hurting us? Even during a battle? Vexhai nodded slowly, his mind struggling to process this information. In all his years studying galactic politics, he had never encountered a species that fought wars while simultaneously trying to protect their enemy civilians. The concept was so foreign that it seemed almost impossible. Elder, Kira whispered, what kind of species travels 300 light-years to help strangers, then spends time making sure innocent people don't get hurt during the rescue? Another human transmission crackled through the speakers, medical teams stand by for emergency civilian assistance. Engineering crews prepare humanitarian supply drops. Rules of engagement remain in effect at all times. Vexhai felt tears forming in his ancient eyes. His people had sent their desperate message into the void hoping to find anyone strong enough to fight the Krex Empire. But instead of finding ruthless warriors like their enemies, they had somehow contacted a species that seemed to care more about protecting life than taking it. Perhaps, Vexhai whispered to Kira, his voice filled with wonder, we have called upon angels instead of demons. Above them, both fleets continued moving toward their inevitable collision. The Krex prepared for another easy conquest, confident in their technological superiority. The humans prepared for their first interstellar battle, focused on minimizing civilian casualties and following their strict military protocols. Neither side truly understood what they were about to face. The Krex had never encountered an enemy that combined advanced technology with genuine morality. The humans had never fought against a species that viewed mercy as weakness and compassion as stupidity. In 6 days, they would meet in the space above Zalani Prime. The galaxy would never be the same. Captain Lisa Roberts adjusted her uniform one final time as her small diplomatic shuttle approached the massive Krex battle fleet hanging in space above Zalani Prime. Through the viewport, she could see the alien warships, dark, menacing vessels covered in weapon ports and armor plating. They looked like metal sharks waiting to strike. Remember, our orders are to attempt peaceful contact first, Lisa said to her small crew of 3. We don't know if these Krex can be reasoned with, but we have to try. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Tom Bradley, nodded nervously as he activated the translation software. Captain, I'm broadcasting on all frequencies. Basic mathematical sequences, followed by a request for dialogue. The shuttle continued its slow approach toward the lead Krex vessel, a massive ship that was easily 5 times larger than anything in the human fleet. Lisa could feel her heart pounding as she waited for a response. This was humanity's first attempt at communication with a hostile alien species, and everything depended on the next few minutes. Captain, Tom said suddenly, his face turning pale, I'm reading massive energy buildup from their forward weapons. They're targeting us. Lisa's blood ran cold. Are you sure? We're clearly unarmed. This is a diplomatic shuttle. Confirmed, ma'am. Multiple plasma cannons charging to full power. On the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt, Commander Jake Morrison watched the situation unfold through his tactical display. The human fleet hung back at a respectful distance, weapons powered down as a sign of peaceful intent. But Jake's instincts, honed by 20 years of military service, were screaming warnings at him. Sir, called out Lieutenant Mike Johnson from the sensors station, the Krex are targeting Captain Roberts' shuttle with their main guns. Jake's jaw clenched. Signal them to back down immediately. Tell them we're here for diplomatic contact only. I'm trying, sir, but they're not responding to any of our transmissions. Through the view screen, Jake watched in horror as bright energy beams lanced out from the Krex destroyer. Captain Roberts' shuttle, a small peaceful vessel carrying only 4 people, simply vanished in a ball of superheated plasma. There was no warning, no chance to surrender, no mercy. The bridge of the Thunderbolt fell completely silent. Every human officer stared at the empty space where their friends had been just seconds before. Lisa Roberts had been Jake's student at the Naval Academy. She had a husband and 2 young children waiting for her back on Earth. Jake's expression transformed from diplomatic caution to something much colder and more dangerous. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but filled with deadly promise. "All ships, this is Morrison. The enemy has opened fire on a peaceful diplomatic mission. They have murdered our people without provocation. As of this moment, we are at war." His hands moved across the command console with practiced efficiency. "All ships, weapons free. Battle formations Alpha through Delta. Show them what humans do to bullies who hurt innocent people." The transformation of the human fleet was immediate and terrifying. Ships that had been drifting peacefully suddenly roared to life, their engines blazing as they accelerated toward the enemy. Weapon ports opened along their hulls like mechanical flowers blooming with deadly intent. War Master Thokran aboard the Krek's flagship watched with amusement as the primitive human ships approached. "Look how they rush toward their deaths," he hissed to his officers. "These creatures have no tactical sense whatsoever." But his amusement quickly turned to confusion, then to growing alarm. The human ships were moving faster than his sensors had predicted. Much faster. And the energy readings from their weapons were completely wrong. "Subcommander Vrak," Thokran demanded, "why are our tactical computers showing impossible readings from these primitive vessels?" Before Vrak could answer, the human fleet opened fire. The Kreks had expected crude projectile weapons and basic energy beams. Instead, they faced something from their nightmares. Magnetic acceleration cannons launched tungsten rods at 20% of light speed, projectiles moving so fast they hit their targets before the Krek sensors could even detect them. The rods punched through Krek's armor plating like paper, causing massive explosions that tore enemy ships apart from the inside. But that was just the beginning. Swarms of AI-guided missiles poured from human-launched tubes, thousands of small, intelligent projectiles that worked together like a mechanical school of fish. The Kreks tried to shoot them down, but the missiles were too smart, too fast, and too numerous. They overwhelmed the alien point defense systems and detonated against hull plates and weapon systems. "Impossible!" Thokran roared as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. Their technology readings showed fusion drives and kinetic weapons. "War Master," Vrak cried out in panic, "we've lost 16 ships in the first 2 minutes. Their weapons are far more advanced than our intelligence indicated." Through the chaos of battle, Jake Morrison's voice cut across all communication channels, broadcast in perfect Krek's language that his computers had learned from intercepted transmissions. "Attention Krek's fleet. You fired on peaceful diplomats. You murdered innocent people. Now you face the consequences of that choice." The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human ships moved with impossible precision, their AI-assisted targeting systems never missing their marks. Every shot was calculated for maximum effect. Every maneuver was designed to protect civilian areas on the planet below while destroying enemy vessels. The Kreks, despite their centuries of military dominance, found themselves completely outclassed. Their plasma cannons couldn't penetrate human shield technology. Their energy torpedoes were intercepted by defensive systems they didn't even know existed. One by one, their mighty warships became expanding clouds of debris and escaping atmosphere. The battle lasted exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds. When the last Krek's destroyer exploded in a brilliant flash of light, the space around Zolani Prime fell silent except for the distant rumble of human engines. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the wreckage of the enemy fleet. His expression was sad rather than triumphant. Good people had died today, and that was never something to celebrate, even when justice had been served. He opened a communication channel to the planet below, knowing that millions of Zolani were listening with hope and fear. "Zolani Prime, this is Commander Jake Morrison of the human fleet. We received your distress call, and we came as quickly as we could. The Krex Empire will never threaten your people again. We're here to help, and we're going to make sure you're safe. Far below on the planet's surface, Elder Vex-High fell to his knees and wept with relief. His people were saved, and their rescuers had proven to be exactly what he had hoped, angels of mercy with the power to protect the innocent. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human protection had begun. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Zalani Prime, and Ambassador Tom Bradley could hardly believe the transformation he witnessed as he walked through the rebuilt capital city. Where once there had been smoking ruins and desperate refugees, now there were bustling markets, laughing children, and the sound of construction equipment working around the clock. The Zalani had proven to be remarkably adaptable. Their blue-green skin seemed to glow with renewed health, and their large eyes sparkled with hope that had been absent for years under Krex oppression. But what amazed Tom most was how quickly they had embraced their human protectors, not as conquerors, but as genuine allies. Ambassador Bradley, called out a familiar voice from behind him. Tom turned to see Elder Vex-High approaching, his ancient frame moving with more energy than it had possessed in years. The elderly Zalani leader still insisted on the traditional deep bow of respect, despite Tom's repeated attempts to convince him it wasn't necessary. Elder Vex-High, Tom replied warmly, returning a more modest human bow. How are the reconstruction efforts progressing? The elder's expression was one of continued amazement. Beyond our wildest expectations, Ambassador. Your engineers work 18 hours a day alongside our people, never asking for anything in return. They've restored our power grid, rebuilt our hospitals, and even helped us design new defensive systems. But I must confess, our people still struggle to understand your species. Tom raised an eyebrow. Oh. In what way? Vex-High gestured toward a construction site where human engineers in bright yellow safety gear worked side by side with Zalani civilians to install massive solar collectors. The humans were teaching the aliens new techniques while simultaneously learning about Zalani technology. It was cooperation on a level that the galaxy had rarely seen. Your species wages war with such incredible efficiency, Vex-High said slowly, choosing his words carefully. In 14 minutes, you destroyed a Krex battle fleet that had terrorized this sector for decades. Your weapons were so advanced that our enemies never had a chance. Yet now, those same warriors spend their days rebuilding what others destroyed. They protect civilian convoys, establish trade routes, and even help settle disputes between our neighboring worlds. Tom smiled, remembering his own confusion when he first received his diplomatic assignment. He had expected to be managing a military occupation, but instead found himself coordinating the largest humanitarian effort in human history. We learned something important a long time ago, Elder, Tom explained, watching a group of human medics teaching Zalani doctors new surgical techniques. Peace isn't just the absence of war. Real peace requires trust, cooperation, and the knowledge that someone will stand up for what's right when evil tries to take over. They walked together toward the central plaza, where a massive memorial had been erected. It bore the names of every Zalani who had died during the Krex occupation, but also the names of Captain Lisa Roberts and her 3 crew members who had been murdered during the failed diplomatic mission. Humans and Zalani alike left flowers at the memorial every day. But there's something else that puzzles us, Vex-High continued. Your people could have easily conquered our worlds after defeating the Krex. Your military technology is centuries ahead of anything we possess. Yet instead of ruling over us, you've helped us rebuild our government, strengthen our economy, and even trained our own defense forces. Tom stopped walking and turned to face the elder directly. Vex-High, can I tell you something about human history? The Zalani nodded eagerly. For most of our existence, humans fought each other constantly. Wars, conquests, empires rising and falling. We made every mistake you can imagine when it comes to power and violence. But eventually, we learned that the strongest nations aren't the ones that conquer others. They're the ones that help others become strong. Above them, the UES Thunderbolt passed silently overhead, its massive hull gleaming in the sunlight of the Zalani star. The warship maintained a constant patrol of the system, a visible reminder that Earth's protection was real and permanent. When we protect others, we make allies, Tom continued. When we help rebuild instead of destroying, we create trading partners. When we share our technology and knowledge, we learn new things in return. It's not just morality, Elder. It's practical. A galaxy full of strong, peaceful worlds is better for everyone, including Earth. Vexhi's large eyes reflected deep thought. And the other species in the galaxy? How do they view humanity's new role? Tom's expression grew more serious. That's complicated. Some species are grateful and want to join our alliance. Former Krex slave worlds are declaring independence and requesting human protection. Trade agreements are being signed across dozens of star systems. He paused, looking up at the Thunderbolt as it completed its patrol circuit. But others are afraid. They see what happened to the Krex Empire and wonder if they're next. Some powerful civilizations view humanity as a threat to the old galactic order. Are they right to be afraid? Vexhi asked quietly. Tom considered the question carefully. If they're peaceful species who respect the rights of others, then no, they have nothing to fear from humanity. But if they're predators like the Krex, who believe that might makes right and that innocent people are acceptable casualties. He shrugged. Well, they've seen what happens when they threaten people under our protection. They reached the edge of the plaza, where a group of Zilani children were playing with toys that looked suspiciously like human spaceships. The children were laughing and pretending to be brave human pilots protecting their world from imaginary monsters. Those children will grow up in a galaxy where they don't have to fear being conquered, Tom observed. They'll become scientists, artists, explorers, traders. They'll add their voices to the growing alliance of free worlds that stands together against tyranny. Vexhi smiled, an expression that was beautiful despite the alien features. And if other predator species arise? If new threats emerge from the depths of space? Tom looked up at the Thunderbolt one more time, thinking of Commander Jake Morrison and the thousands of human service members who had volunteered for permanent assignment in Zilani space. Men and women who had left Earth to protect strangers, simply because it was the right thing to do. Then they'll learn the same lesson the Krex learned, Tom said firmly. Humanity keeps its promises, Elder. We said that no cry for help would go unanswered, and we meant it. This isn't just about the Zilani anymore. It's about building a galaxy where the strong protect the weak, where cooperation defeats conquest, and where good people can sleep safely at night. As the sun set over the rebuilt capital, casting long shadows across the plaza, both human and Zilani citizens continued their work of building something better. Above them, the Thunderbolt began its night patrol, carrying with it Earth's eternal promise. The galaxy had changed forever, and it was only the beginning.